What's the state of your website? If you're looking for a new digital experience platform or DXP to run your digital experiences, I have the book for you. The Agile Brand Guide to Digital Experience Platforms is part of my best-selling series of Martech books. In this book, I explore and demystify DXPs and look at the roles a digital experience platform should play, the different types on the market, as well as how to initially evaluate platforms, then how to best implement a DXP once you've selected it. The book also features a foreword from Rupali Jain, Chief Product Officer at leading DXP provider Optimizely, as well as several other thought leaders in the industry. Learn more and get a copy in print or digital now by going to the Agile Brand Guide website at www.agilebrandguide.com.
Hi, this is Greg. Look for my book, The Agile Brand, on Amazon or on my website at theagile.world. Welcome back to the Agile World. This is Greg Kihlstrom. The last few episodes, I've been talking about what sets Agile brands apart from other brands. In the first part of this, I talked about one of the things is having an open dialogue with customers. So really not just responding to complaints, but also listening to and taking suggestions and incorporating feedback that's heard either direct from the customer or through third-party sites, things like that, into future products, services, and everything. In the next episode, I talked about telling genuine stories, and I used a couple examples from Oldsmobile, Starbucks, Nike, to kind of demonstrate both what not to do, which is telling a story, but one that really doesn't resonate either with your audience or with your values, as well as what to do, which is to align something with what you believe and what your audience believes and what they can really get behind. Today, I'm going to talk about how Agile brands use data to drive deeper insights and greater growth. So, unlike the listening to the audience, which is what I would say more qualitative feedback. This is using more quantitative feedback and really trying to understand through the voice of analytics and versus the voice of the customer. What do your customers want? What can you do to better serve them? And I think one of the big opportunities that we've seen. So. Big data, certainly a buzzword several years ago. It's not going anywhere. It's $200 billion industry within a few years, I think. So, certainly it's not going anywhere. I think there was a lot of promise with big data a few years back, but not as much delivery on that promise until more recently. Developments like growth in artificial intelligence, machine learning, technologies and systems like that have really enabled us to dive in through all of this data and really try to understand things. So, I mean, the first phase of big data was really collecting it all and having mechanisms and databases and storage to collect everything. But quickly enough, everyone started finding out that, okay, well, we have mountains of data, but we don't know what to do with it, or we don't even have the processing power to do it. So, using machine learning and AI and technologies like that, we're able to parse that stuff more quickly. No human could really go through it meaningfully and make sense of it. But even going through that and having machines do it for us, it really relies on a few things. And I think the first thing and the most fundamental thing is really learning to ask the right questions. You could spend days and weeks and months really diving through data, and I know people that love doing that, and they just kind of get lost in a spreadsheet and looking at analytics, and you can kind of go down a rabbit hole and find some interesting things. But again, if we're talking about asking the right question, the outcomes really require asking the right question in the first place. So that means relying on a strong set of goals in the first place. So, what are your key performance indicators, your KPIs? That starts at a business level, but if you're a marketer, you need to translate those into marketing KPIs. And then based on your strategy, you need to start saying, okay, well, I could answer any question in the world, but if I could ask 5 questions, let's say, through this mountain of data that I have, what are those things? And let's not get distracted by what I call indicators. So, analytics, again, gives us insight into so many things, but if we're only looking at indicators of what people are doing instead of actually getting insights about their experience, it becomes, we can get kind of distracted by these things. So, for instance, an example of an indicator would be, number of social media followers, or even likes of a post, or if you do website traffic, number of page visits or things like that. They're certainly useful statistics, but they're indicators of something much larger. So what's more meaningful would be, how is traffic that comes from your social media going to your website and ultimately resulting in a sale? Just as important, the performance of that. So when I talk about performance, it's a couple things. So it's how quickly or easily did someone get through that process, or what is the change over time? What's the delta? So in other words, over the course of a month, has that process, and have more people gone through the funnel, I guess, so to speak, than last month? So how are we actually performing? So I think if you do these things, it lets you filter through all of this data that, again, it most of it is valuable. Some of it, I think sometimes people collect more data than they should. And honestly, GDPR, I go through this with a number of my clients, but some of these companies are collecting things that not only are not even valuable, but actually can become a liability to them. So I think you need to be really careful about, not only what are you tracking, but why are you tracking it, and what are you actually going to do with it? And so by asking the right questions, it really drives you to be able to be more thoughtful. So taking that agile approach, that methodical approach to adjusting and optimizing, you can be a lot more successful as a brand. In the next episode, I'm going to talk about the next thing, which is staying nimble by always listening. Thanks for listening. Have a great week. If you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, please rate the show on iTunes or contact me through my website at theagile.world. You can find my books, The Agile Brand and The Agile Web, on Amazon and on my website at theagile.world.